Hello and welcome to Wally Bois, and in this video I want to talk about winterising our tools because, well, it's that time of year where everything, well, is at risk of corrosion. And we can pack our tools away, put them in a tool bag or what have you, and we come back to them next year, you know, if you are a fair weather woodworker, and you find that they're covered in corrosion. Now, even during the summer months where we had a bit of humidity in the air here, even though I winterised them last year, I've noticed that some of my tools, such as this little rebate plane here, it's got corrosion on it, as you can see. You know, it's looking a bit worse for wear. That needs to be cleaned off, and then I'll winterise that for this year. Same with this rebate plane here. On this face here, it's a little bit tarnished in places. It's not too bad, but you know, I need to protect it. I don't want to get any worse, and I can do that by cleaning the faces up, what have you, and preparing that. But the tool that I want to show you how I winterise is this Stanley Bailey number 4, which is a smoothing plane, some people like to call them. Now, the reason why I want to do that is it's quite a common tool for many people, and we're going to strip it down, and we're going to lubricate all the bits, then put it back together again. So that's what we're going to do. Now, some people say, just use WD-40 and spray it everywhere. I don't like it. I don't like it, no. The reason for that is it evaporates to absolutely nothing. It doesn't really leave much of a residue, and we need the residue on there to actually protect it over the winter. So I tend to use this stuff. Yeah, stuff you put in your car engine oil, but I don't put it on just engine oil because it's a bit thick, isn't it? It's a bit gooey. But leave a right old mess. I thin it down with some white spirit, such as this. White spirit I have here, into a rather runny mix, which we have here. As you can see, it's really, really runny. But what happens is the white spirit will evaporate off and I'll leave a thin coat of oil on the tool. And if you're going to use the tool over the winter period, well then obviously it'll leave the oil on there and protect it from the moisture that happens to be in the air, because obviously the winter and what have you. If you're in a climate-controlled workshop, which most of us aren't, and many people just working in their sheds, well then there's humidity to think about. So what I tend to do is, say for instance this tool here, which is that number 4 Stanley Bailey, lovely little tool, and I grab myself a screwdriver and I'll remove everything. So get rid of the lever cap, yeah, and the plain iron assembly is the chip breaker and the plain iron, and then we have the tote and we have the knob. So I've got to remove them as well. Now the reason why I remove them is because in there's a metal rod, like a threaded rod, and the problem is they corrode to the point of no return, basically. They make it really hard to remove them. So I remove this sort of brass screw which is attached to the threaded rod. Can you see that on there? That's corroded. You know, so these are the things that get forgotten about, and because it's wood, it holds moisture and corrodes the iron. It reacts as well. So you can run that up and down on the old wire wheel if you've got one, or put it in the vise and use a wire brush on it. Or if you're not that bothered, just grab the oil and just literally soak it. I'm not going to try remove that from that because the likelihood I could damage something. And at the moment I don't actually need to. So remove the knob, remove the actual screw. Underneath there's some evidence of a little bit of corrosion under there, nothing major. So then we're going to remove the tote. And here is the tote. Similar sort of idea how to fix it. You'll have a threaded rod like so, usually reverse thread, and yeah, and a brass screw on top of that. And the same thing is probably going to happen. It's going to leave one thing or the other behind. Either the threaded rod into the sole plate or the threaded rod into the brass screw. In this case, into the brass screw. So you can push that out like so, and you end up with this. This one's actually not in bad condition. That probably would remove quite easily, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to, well, leave it in there. Just leave it in there. Why not? So, now I was watching a video the other day, an experienced guy talking about a hand plane. And I thought that was quite interesting. He didn't know what that bit was called. Well, he knew what it was called, but he didn't know why it was called it. Because it's called a frog. And I'll explain to you why it's called a frog. Because if you look at it, it looks like a frog's face. Yeah, that is why it's called the frog. That's the only reason. So there's 2 screws in here, and we're going to remove those. There's holding the frog into place. Now don't worry, it'll go back into its original position because it's got a locator. So we can just remove those 2 screws. for which I'll remove them entirely and place in the iron. And the same again goes with your chisels, or you have anything that's iron, anything that's, that potentially could start corroding. Not your saw tops though. Use some Liberon lubricant wax or something like that, or even just beeswax, just to protect your tops for your table saw if it's iron. Or any iron tops, in fact. You don't put oil over them because that'll make a nightmare next time you want to use it. So just take the screws out and put them in with this little tub of oil. You play with it later. So then we have this arrangement here. There's a little yoke there. That's your locating yoke that goes onto that screw. So when you put the frog back in to the main bolt body of the plane, it should be in exactly the same position as it was before. Now I'm not going to remove it. All I'm going to do is splash some oil around that. That's very thin. It's mainly white spirit actually, but it leaves a residue. And I'll do all the actual sole plane into these two holes here as well, where the screws go into, because we don't want anything corroding. Especially if you ain't going to use it over the winter. Now, I probably will be coming in here and using them. But even so, I still need to protect them. But all I'll do is I'll use my wife's knickers that I got out of a drawer this morning and wipe it all over. So, I'm not going to leave any residue anywhere. But at least I know all the little nooks and crannies have got some protection. That's what it is. Protection. And a bit of lubrication as well on all the old screws. A bit like KY. No, don't get into that. So anyway, we've got our yoke here. And there's another screw here. That's the retaining screw. I'm going to remove that one because that can corrode as well. So, it's about just being sensible. Don't remove what you don't need to. Now, we've got the adjuster screw here. In this case, it's got a cast iron yoke there, which is absolutely fine. But also some of them have like a two-piece steel, pressed steel one, and they're a bit crap. This is an old tool. There's a Stanley Bailey number 4. Now, modern Stanley Baileys... well, I don't think they make them anymore, actually. I think they stopped making them. But they were made in China recently. They're rubbish. They're not Stanley Baileys. You're better off getting hold of an old tool if you can. An old, maybe you might inherit one or something. Or if you ask a family member, they might have one in the shed, in a box somewhere that you could restore. Definitely worth getting old tools if you can. Other than that, spend a lot of money and get yourself a Lee Nielsen or Clifton, Veritas. What's the other one? Woodcraft do a good one called Wood River. Excellent tools. There are some cheap brands out there like Footprint and what have you. They're okay for DIY, but you're not going to pick it up and think, oh, I love this. Oh, it's really nice to use. No, believe you me, you'll have to do a huge amount of work to it to make it even usable, really. Quite often the sole plates are not flat. Quite often the mouth of the actual body here where the blade comes through is not true. They can be an absolute nightmare. Now, regarding the handle, you could put a little bit of oil on the handle if you want. It ain't going to hurt it, even if it's engine oil. If not, linseed oil. That's usually what I do, but I've got oil on my hands at the minute. I know it's not very healthy. I know I'll get criticised for that. So, at this stage, I've saved myself now. I can either replace the frog. I'm not going to yet because I need to be able to put the screw in for the tote, which is this one here. And I've soaked that screw there. I'll place it in there. And now I'm going to tighten it up. Now, let's say, for instance, no matter how tight you make it, the handle is always loose. There's stuff you can do. All right? What you can do is the screw, let me remove that again because I can show you. It might be too long now. And the reason why it's too long is the body of the tote, sorry, the top body, the tote, has shrunk in its width. Because the grain's going that way, it will shrink. I should be wearing latex gloves really, shouldn't I? It can shrink against this width, so it makes it a bit smaller. And then the screw becomes too long. That's basically what happens. I can't see the screw now. What have I done with it? Oh, it's in there. The screw becomes too long. And then you can't tighten it up. So what you have to do is take the screw out and grind a little bit off the end of the screw. Yeah, it's kind of a bit stuck now. Yeah, there you go. You basically just shorten the screw a little bit, just a touch, just enough to get another couple of turns on. The other thing you can do is you can find a washer that will go on here, that'll still fit in there. You'll then get that extra little bit of room to tighten up. It's very, very common with these any Stanley plane, or actually any plane in fact. There you go. I've only had this problem on the Stanleys, to be fair. Now, Stanley Bailey, you got, it was Leonard Stanley, and he started life making hinges and screws and stuff like that. See, I just tighten that. Don't over tighten that, just enough so the handle doesn't twist. That's absolutely parfait. So, once that's on there, I haven't removed that screw, I'm leaving it in, so I'll keep the adjustment in place. Remember, I'm just doing this ready to make sure everything is hunky-dory, so it doesn't corrode. I've saturated the back of that. I'm not removing the adjuster. I don't need to, because I'll just soak it anyway. There's that plate here as well. Make sure that's got oil on it, because it's just mild steel. And then you basically place that into the slot. There's a slot on that screw there, and that part, that yoke there, fits over that slot. Drops in like so. You shouldn't need to adjust it. It should be exactly how you removed it. So you grab these two screws here. In fact, it looks like I've lost a washer on one of them. So I could do with actually finding another washer. Unless it just dropped out just now, but I think it was actually missing before. So we're going to place this screw back into place here. There you go. I'm using an old Stanley Yankee ratchet screwdriver. Now, do I have the screw? It looks like I haven't. It looks like it's been lost. So I was going to grab, not a screw, a washer. So I was going to grab a washer. I do apologise if the video is getting a bit long. But, you know, with your chisels and stuff like that, you can just clean them up and put, you know, wipe a bit of oil on them and they'll be absolutely fine. And then they've got wooden handles, put a bit of linseed oil on them. It will help a lot, a great deal, in fact. Now, if you've got stainless steel washers, that will do the job. Use them, because you won't have any more problems with them. I think that one will do the job. Nice little stainless steel washer, which I am going to place on there. Now, this is a lovely plane. I do like the old planes. They're really quite nice. You know, the modern ones. When I say modern planes, I'm talking about the modern Stanleys. Are awful. Even the little Stanley Sweethearts. The new. They look quite trendy. They look quite. They're like a retro brand, a retro model of Stanley, and they're terrible. They're really bad. The chip breaker, the lever cap on them is like a bit of plastic. It isn't, it's some sort of alloy, but it's so light. And you can't get enough pressure on them. The adjustment on the back, I'm talking about, for instance, the low angle block plane, is so sloppy, it's unreal. I mean, it's the worst thing. And considering how much they cost, they're not worth it. You'll be better off, if you're doing a low angle plane, getting one of them little Stanley G12s 060s. They're way better. Other than that, I'll get something better than that. Now, those ones I had on site, you see, and they just end up in my workshop here. But they're not ideal for use in a workshop for cabinet making or anything like that. But I do a bit of variety of stuff, to be fair. So I would like to get some more tools. All right, so we've got our chip breaker and plane iron assembly. Now, this is just the bog standard plane iron in this number 4, whereas my number 7 and number 6 have got the Victor hand-forged plane irons, which are wonderful. I mean, make a massive difference. If you want to upgrade any plane, get yourself some of them. Oh my God. Clifton do a quite nice plane iron with a chip breaker assembly. Very, very good. Now, what you do want to make sure you do is separate, because we're winterising, remember, and any spaces in between the chip breaker and the plane iron, drop the screw, potential rust in between. So you've got to make sure it's got a good old coating on there. This one needs a good sharpening and truing up, to be honest. And a bit of Charlesworth sharpening technique on the back there as well. So we'll just place that back together. But I'm enjoying the winterisings at the moment. I'm not doing sharpening. All loads of tools ready. Every time you take them apart, you should sharpen them, so they're always ready for use. So that screw is going to go back in there like that. But yeah, like I say, if you can, if you're considering buying some tools, some hand planes and what have you, definitely consider the old flea markets and stuff like that. The old brocants, the car boots, you could say. Brocants here in France. So I'm going to place that back in there like so. And then we've got our lever cap. Same again. I know I'm overdoing it. Well, do you know what I normally do? I actually normally have a tray. And any excess I just let drain off overnight. That's what I usually do. But but not for the purpose of this video. Sorry. There you go. No, I can't put that on there yet, can I? Because what haven't I done? I haven't put the screw in. Got to put the screw in, you know. And I've got to make sure there's oil in that hole where that screw was in. There you go. And it's going to be excessive here, but at least I know it's protected and it's not going to corrode on me. Now that screw is actually adjustable, you know, it's in or out, you know, it doesn't have to be tight. So it really depends on where it is with your chip brake. At the moment it's too tight. So I'm just going to loosen that a little bit. Like so, just so the chip brake can go, you know, the lever cap side can slide into place. And press down. Too much. Not too tight in other words. So you see the lever's going down. And once it's in the right place, generally I just leave it alone. There you go. So grab Mrs. Knickers, wipe it over, and the job's a good one. So this is something you want to do with all your hand tools. You know, don't leave any, just do them all. It's good practice anyway, because everything becomes lubricated, makes it easy to use as well. I know there's going to be a bit of excess on there. I know it gets on your hands and stuff. That will evaporate, obviously. The oil will evaporate, not the oil, the white spirit will evaporate, but leave a film of oil. Now, one thing I'd say to you, don't do, would be, what I've seen people do, or I've seen people online do as well, is spray everything with a coat of varnish. Don't do it. You know, I just sprayed lacquer or a thin coat of oil-based lacquer and just let them just watered right down with some white spirit or whatever it needs. Not water-based, obviously, but with you know, solvent-based. That leaves a residue, but it probably gets in all the nooks and crannies and it just builds up and builds up and builds up every year, and it makes a right old mess. I do not recommend that at all. This works, it's simple, and it's easy to clean off when you want to get back to using your tool again. So yeah, that's what I do. I want to winterise my tools. I'm going to walk over there, you know, because it's too far away. So anyway, while we're here, what do you think about it? We put nice kind and beep the old like button, maybe the subscribe and the little bell icon, because then you get a warm fuzzy feeling in your pocket every time I give another handy tip. And I do loads of silly kind of short woodworking videos as well, you know, like little vertical shorts. So anyway, if you want to check them out, have a look at the content on the channel. Yeah. So protect your tool. Always. Toodaloo.